34 seconds to the end of the match. The ball in my hands feels unusually heavy. The hall roars, but all I can hear is my own heartbeat and hoarse breathing. "Come on, Bright," comes Coach Ted's voice from somewhere in the distance. A feint, a pass, a throw, practiced moves I could repeat with my eyes closed. The ball makes a perfect arc and falls into the basket, 96-93 in our favor. The bleachers explode. I look for Scarlett among the VIP seats. She always sits there in the front row with the other players' wives. She's easy to spot, her long red hair standing out like flames in the dark. Our gazes meet, and she sends me an air kiss. Even a year later, I still melt at these little signs of attention. "Great game, Holloway." Landon claps me on the back as we walk to the locker room. His smile, as always, is genuine and open. We've been friends for 4 years now, ever since I transferred to Golden State Warriors. He was the first to really accept me on the team. "Tomorrow's the anniversary?" he asks, pulling down his uniform. "Yep, first one." I can't hold back a smile. "Made reservations at Le Petit Jardin. Scarlett's been wanting to go there for a long time." "Romantic," he snorts, but I notice some shadow flashing in his eyes. I'm too excited about the evening ahead to give it much thought, though. At home, I'm greeted by the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the sound of the TV running. Scarlett loves late-night talk shows, especially the ones that discuss fashion and social life. She sits with her legs tucked under her on our huge couch that we picked out together after we got married. She's wearing my old team t-shirt, her hair gathered in a careless bun, the way I love her best. "Great game, honey." She pulls away from the screen and smiles. "I'm proud of you." I lean over to kiss her and notice a stack of glossy magazines on the coffee table. On the cover of one of them is a picture of her, a recent shoot for a local fashion publication. Scarlett says this is just the beginning of her career, and I believe in her. She's too beautiful and talented to go unnoticed. "Kendall called," she says casually, and I notice the change in her tone. My little sister and my wife have never really gotten along. "Invited me to dinner on Sunday." "That would be great," I reply, knowing this conversation could lead to an argument. Kendall is too direct in her judgments, and Scarlett, well, she knows how to take offense. "You know how your sister feels about me." Scarlett presses her lips together. "She still thinks I married you for the money. She just cares about me too much." I try to lighten the mood. "Kendall's been like that with all my girlfriends." "I'm not all your girlfriends. I'm your wife." A steely note appears in her voice. "And tomorrow will be a year we've been married." I wrap my arms around her, feeling her slowly relax in my arms. A year ago at this time, I was the happiest person in the world. I remember her walking down the aisle at church, wearing a snow-white dress that seemed to glow from within. I remember how her voice trembled as she recited her vows. I remember every second of that day. My phone vibrates in my pocket, a message from the delivery service. Tomorrow morning, a huge bouquet of roses, her favorite flowers. I've got it all planned out. Breakfast in bed, a walk along the promenade where we first met, dinner at a restaurant. I want this day to be special. The next morning, I wake up earlier than usual. Scarlett is still asleep, her hair spread across the pillow. I quietly slip out of bed and go into the kitchen to make breakfast. Blueberry pancakes are her favorite. While I'm working on the batter, the doorbell rings, a flower delivery. I open the door and see not only a courier with a bouquet, but also a mailman with an envelope in his hands. "To Mr. Brighton Holloway, personally addressed," he says, holding out a letter. The envelope has no return address, which is odd. Inside is just a single sheet of paper. For some reason, my hands start to tremble as I unfold it. The first line is, "Do you think you know your wife?" I reread the letter 3 times before the meaning of what's written starts to come to me. There must be some mistake. It must be someone's evil joke. There's no way, Scarlett. "Honey, I smell pancakes." Her voice from upstairs brings me back to reality. I hastily shove the letter into my homemade pants pocket. Not today. Not today. "Happy anniversary, love." I meet her downstairs with a bouquet of roses, trying to smile like nothing happened. She gasps delightedly, burying her face in the flowers, and I can't get rid of the thought of the letter that burns my pocket like a red-hot coal. The day passes like a blur. We walk along the promenade where I first saw her 2 years ago. She was being photographed for a local clothing brand. Scarlett laughs, talking about plans for future photo shoots, about how her career is starting to pick up steam. I nod, smile, say the right words, but my thoughts keep returning to the letter. That evening, at the restaurant, she looks stunning in her new black dress. The waiters recognize me, congratulating me on my fine performance yesterday. Scarlett is glowing with pride. I look at her and try to see what the letter said. But all I see is the woman I love more than life. My phone vibrates a message from Kendall. Don't forget, dinner on Sunday. And yes, happy anniversary, big bro. Hope you're happy. I know that tone of hers even in text messages. She's never hidden her attitude toward my marriage. From Kendall? Scarlett notices the look on my face change. Tell her I said hi. The very note I've learned to recognize appears in her voice. She and her sister are like cat and dog. Kendall thinks Scarlett is insincere. Scarlett thinks Kendall interferes too much in our lives. And I'm stuck in the middle, trying to keep the peace. At home, late at night, when Scarlett is already asleep, I pull out the letter and reread it again. Every word sticks in my mind like a splinter. I check the envelope, no fingerprints, nothing to indicate the sender. Why today? Why on our anniversary? I go to bed, but sleep won't come. Scarlett is snuggled against me in my sleep, so warm and familiar. I breathe in the familiar scent of her shampoo and try to push away all my doubts. But they've already taken root, and I can feel them starting to sprout. A morning workout has always helped me clear my head of unnecessary thoughts, but not today. The ball flies past the ring time after time, and Coach Ted has already reprimanded me twice for being distracted. I can't concentrate. The lines from yesterday's letter throb in my head like an annoying migraine. Your wife is not who she says she is. On your wedding day, while you were reciting your vows, she has already betrayed your trust. Hey, Bright! Landon's voice pulls me out of my musings. You're like a somnambulist today. Is everything okay? I nod, but his concerned gaze lingers on me longer than usual. Landon knows me well. We're not just teammates. We're friends. Real friends. He was best man at my wedding, for crying out loud. Wedding. I remember every detail of that day. I remember my hands shaking when I buttoned my cufflinks. The way Kendall adjusted my tie and said something about it not being too late to change my mind. I brushed it off at the time, thinking it was just the usual little sister nagging. I remember catching my breath when I saw Scarlett in her wedding dress. What if the letter was true? After my workout, I sit in my car longer than usual, hesitant to start the engine. I pull out my phone, open the gallery. Pictures from the wedding. Here's Scarlett smiling at the camera. Here we are cutting the cake. Here's our first dance. I stare at each picture, trying to find some sign, some hint that none of it was true. Stupid, of course. The house is unaccustomedly quiet. There's a note on the kitchen table. I'm off to a photo shoot. I'll be back late. Dinner's in the fridge. Just heat it up. Love. S. Her handwriting is hurried, with curlicues on the capital letters. I know these notes by heart, and they've been appearing more and more often in recent months. Scarlett's career is really taking off. I open the fridge and there's lasagna, my favorite dish. She always makes it when she feels guilty about being away for a long time. I heat up a batch, but I don't feel like eating. My mind is spinning with questions I can't get rid of. The phone rings, making me flinch. Kendall. Hey, big brother. Her voice sounds unaccustomedly serious. How was your anniversary? Fine. I try to sound lighthearted, but I can't fool my sister. What happened? She always senses when something's wrong with me. After waiting a pause, she adds, Is it because of Scarlett? Why do you always think it's about her? I snap, but immediately regret my tone. Because I'm your sister, and I'm not blind, Kendall sighs. Listen, why don't you come over? I made your favorite apple pie. Not today, Ken. Tired after practice. There's a pause. I can almost see her frowning on the other end of the line. You know, whenever you're ready to talk, I'm there for you. It only gets worse after talking to my sister. Kendall has always been against my marriage to Scarlett. Too perfect, too right, she used to say. No one is ever that flawless, Bright. The evening drags on endlessly. I try to watch the replay of last night's match, but I can't concentrate on the game. At 10, Scarlett calls. Sorry, honey, the shoot ran late. I'll be quite late. Don't wait up for me. Her voice sounds out of breath. There's some noise in the background. I try to pick up the sounds of the photo studio, the clicks of the camera, the voices of the assistants, the music. But all I hear is an inaudible hum. Where are you now? The question bursts out on its own. There's a second's pause. Almost imperceptible, but I can feel it. In the studio at Ashton's, of course. We have extra footage for the ad campaign. Ashton Blackwood, owner of a modeling agency who saw potential in Scarlett. I'd only seen him a couple times. Tall, groomed, with that perfect smile of his and an expensive watch. He always looked at my wife with that special look in his eyes. Why don't I pick you up? I suggest, not knowing why myself. No, you don't have to. You have an important game tomorrow. You need to rest. I'll take a cab. I sit in the dark, clutching my phone in my hand. I didn't used to be bothered by her late-night shootings. I used to trust her unconditionally. Going up to the bedroom, I open the closet. Her things are neatly hung in sections. She's always been obsessed with order. I run my hand over the dresses, stopping at the wedding dress. It's stored in a special pouch that I've never opened since the wedding. I'm opening it now. The fine lace, the pearl buttons, the light scent of perfume still lingering in the fabric. I remember her walking down the stairs of the church in that dress, as all the guests gasped in admiration. I remember her crying as she recited her vows. On your wedding day, while you were saying your vows. The sound of a car pulling up makes me hurriedly remove my dress. The front door slams, the clomp of heels on the marble floor of the hallway, the jingle of keys against a glass vase. She has a habit of throwing them there. Honey, are you awake? Scarlett peeks into the bedroom. She smells like perfume, but not her usual perfume. Something new, unfamiliar. Just thinking, I reply, trying to make my voice sound normal. She walks over, hugs me from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder. In the mirror across the hall, we look like the perfect couple from an advertising brochure. Too perfect. Tired? Her fingers slide over my shoulders, a familiar soothing motion. A little. Big game tomorrow. I'll come cheer you on. She kisses my cheek. Ashton gave me the day off. Ashton. There's that name again. At night, I lie awake for a long time, listening to my wife's steady breathing. The phone vibrates quietly on the nightstand. A new message, an unfamiliar number. Check Ashton Blackwood's studio, but not tonight's shoot. I delete the message, but sleep is finally gone. It's starting to get light outside the window, and I lie there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how one letter can destroy faith in the person you thought you knew best. In the morning, Scarlett makes me breakfast. Scrambled eggs and bacon, fresh coffee, avocado toast, just the way I like it. She chirps about last night's shoot, about new contracts, about plans for next month. I nod, smile, ask the right questions. But something dark and cold grows inside. Distrust. It takes root, fills every thought, and I know I won't rest until I know the truth. The whole truth. My life has always been divided into before and after basketball. Now there's a new division, the before and after of that letter. I notice how I'm changing, how I check Scarlett's phone while she's in the shower, how I flinch every time she calls late. I look for a catch in every word, gesture, look. This morning I woke up earlier than usual and found her at her laptop in the kitchen. She slammed the lid shut too hastily when she heard my footsteps. Looking through the photos from the last shoot. She smiled, but I noticed her fingers trembling as she reached for a cup of coffee. After she left, I opened my laptop. Locked. I used to know the password our wedding date. Now it's changed. Such a small thing, but it scratches something inside like a splinter. Triple team! Pass to the left! Throw! Coach Ted's voice brings me back to reality. At practice, I'm distracted again. Landon covers my mistakes, but I see his concerned look. What's going on with you, kid? Ted calls me aside after practice. It's like you're not here. We've got the playoffs coming up. You can't afford the luxury of being distracted. Just tired. The familiar excuse sticks in my throat. Trouble at home? His eyes, faded with age, look piercing. Ted's been in basketball for 30 years. He sees right through people. I shake my head, but he understands. He claps me on the shoulder. Whatever it is, decide quickly. The team is counting on you. In the locker room, a new message. Again from an unfamiliar number. Check the browser history on your wife's phone, especially searches from the week before the wedding. My hands shake as I delete the message. I want to throw my phone against the wall, scream, do something, anything, to drown out that worm of doubt that's gnawing at me from the inside. Hey, you want to grab a beer? Landon stands in the locker room doorway. You look like you could use one. Can't. Promised Scarlett I'd be home early. His face changes for a moment. Something flickers in his eyes, but it disappears so fast I don't have time to realize what it was. I stop at the supermarket on the way home. The routine is soothing. I pick out fresh vegetables, Scarlett's favorite cheese, bread from that little bakery she loves. In the checkout line, I notice Veronica, my wife's best friend. She pretends not to see me, but I manage to spot her hurriedly tucking her cell phone into her bag. Veronica! I call out to her in the parking lot. She flinches but stops. Oh, Bright, didn't see you inside. I smile too wide, unnatural. How are you doing? How's Scarlett? Good. I look at her carefully. Haven't seen you at our house in a while. Yeah, I've a lot of work lately. She nervously rubs the strap of her bag. Say hi to Scarlett. Tell her I miss our bachelorette parties. Girls' nights. Something in her tone makes me wary. Didn't you two see each other last week? Scarlett said she was at your place. A second's confusion. Almost imperceptible, but I catch it. Oh yes, of course, it was more like a business meeting. You know, discussing her new contracts. She hurriedly says goodbye and almost runs to her car. I stand there, clutching the grocery bag, and I feel everything go cold inside. Scarlett tells me she was at Veronica's last Thursday night. All night. At home, I check the calendar on my phone. Thursday, 18:30 is the entry for shooting at Ashton's. I remember her talking about it. I remember calling back late at night, apologizing for being late. Where was she really? The front door slams. Scarlett's back. I hear her humming something as she takes off her shoes in the hallway. The sound of her voice, so familiar and native, now evokes a strange feeling, a mixture of love and suspicion. Honey, are you home yet? She walks into the kitchen, kissing my cheek. Oh, you bought groceries. That's so sweet. I was just about to make something special for dinner. Met Veronica at the store, I say, watching her reaction carefully. She freezes for a split second, but immediately continues to sort through the packages. Really? How is she? Haven't seen her in a while. A lie. So easy. So natural. How many more lies were there like that? She says hi, said she missed seeing you. I'll have to call her the other day. Scarlett pulls out a cutting board, starts chopping vegetables. Her movements are precise, confident, just like always. I look at her back, at the red hair in a careless bun, at her graceful hands, and a wave of longing comes over me. Longing for a time when I didn't doubt her every word. The phone in her bag vibrates quietly. She casts a quick glance but doesn't approach. She used to always answer texts right away. Important call? I ask as nonchalantly as possible. Probably just a work email. She shrugs. I'll check later. That evening, as she showers, I pick up her phone. It's locked, and so is the laptop. I used to know the password, the date we first met. I try it, it doesn't work. I try the date of the wedding, also no. That night, I can't sleep for a long time. Scarlett sleeps next to me, so beautiful, so close, and so foreign. I think back to all our moments together, trying to find the first signs of lying. When did it all start? What did I miss? At 3 a.m., a new message arrives. Same unknown number. Look in her jewelry box. There's something you didn't give her. I lie in the dark, looking at my sleeping wife, and realize I can't live in ignorance any longer. Tomorrow. Tomorrow I will find that box. In the morning, Scarlett leaves earlier than usual, an important meeting with the agency. I take the day off for the first time in 2 months. Coach Ted isn't happy but doesn't argue. Maybe he sees something in my eyes. Her jewelry box sits on the dressing table, antique, silver, engraved. A wedding gift from my mother. Inside, under the top ring compartment, there's a secret bottom. I found this out by accident when I helped move the jewelry box into our new home. My hands tremble as I open the lid. Familiar jewelry, the bracelet I got for my birthday, the earrings from Kendall, the engagement ring. Whoa, why is there a wedding ring? She never takes it off. I press the hidden spring. The inner compartment opens with a quiet click. And there I find the thing that will shatter my world forever. In the secret compartment of the box lies an envelope. Heavy, expensive paper, sealed in sealing wax with the initials E.B. Ashton Blackwood. Inside are photographs, lots of pictures, and a letter dated the day of our wedding. My dear S., I hope you remember our arrangement. A year isn't such a long time if you know that true love awaits you at the end of the road. I sit up straight on the floor, leaning my back against the wall. The photos are scattered around. Scarlett and Ashton in some restaurants, on the beach, leaving the hotel. The dates on some of the pictures are recent. The phone vibrates in his pocket. A message from Scarlett. I'm late for a meeting. Don't wait up with dinner. I stare at the screen and struggle to read the sentences. I call Kendall. Can you make it? My voice sounds like a stranger. She doesn't ask any questions, just says, I'll be there in 20 minutes. When my sister arrives, I'm still sitting on the floor among the scattered photos. She silently lowers herself next to me, picks up one of them, takes a closer look. Oh, bright, is all she says, and there's so much pain and sympathy in those 2 words that I finally burst. How could I have been so blind? The words burst out along with a bitter laugh. All the signs were right in front of me. You were trying to warn me. Shh, Kendall hugs me, like when I was a kid and I fell off my bike or lost an important match. It wasn't your fault. You just loved her. Loved. That word now sounds like a taunt. Kendall stays with me all day. She makes tea, makes me eat something, gathers photos and a letter into a folder. This will come in handy in the divorce. The word makes me twitch. What am I supposed to do now? I ask, looking out the window at the setting sun. For starters, talk to her. Kendall has always been the voice of reason in my life. She needs to know that you know everything. At 7 o'clock, I hear the sound of her keys in the lock. Kendall has already left, taking the evidence folder with her. I sit in the dark living room without turning on the lights. Honey? Scarlett turns on the lamp and flinches when she sees me. Why are you sitting in the dark? Where have you been? My voice sounds calm, too calm. I wrote it down, at a meeting with the agency. She takes off her shoes like she's done hundreds of times before, such a familiar gesture. What agency, Scarlett? With Ashton's agency? She freezes. I can see her back tense under the thin blouse. What do you mean? I found the photos. I struggle with each word. And a letter, in your jewelry box. She turns slowly. Her face is a mask of calm, only her eyes betraying panic. You went through my things? Is that all you have to say? I stand up and she involuntarily takes a step back. I found evidence of your cheating and you resent me violating your personal space? Bright, I can explain it all. Really? And how do you explain a letter written on our wedding day? How do you explain the pictures from last week? Her silence is louder than any words. Why? This question torments me the most. If you loved him, why marry me? Yeah, she stammers, and for the first time I see her perfect mask crack. It's complicated. Complicated? A bitter laugh bursts from my chest. No, sweetheart, it's exactly that simple. You betrayed me. Betrayed our love, our marriage, everything I believed in. She takes a step toward me, holding out her hand. Please, let's talk calmly. Don't touch me. I recoil, as if from something poisonous. Don't! At that moment, her phone starts ringing. The name Ashton pops up on the screen. She hastily drops the call, but it's too late. Have you two discussed what to do next? Bright, listen. No, you listen. I feel something inside finally break. I loved you. God, how much I loved you. Every gesture you made, every smile you smiled, every word you said, and you played the part all along. The perfect wife, the loving spouse. Tears streamed down her face, smearing her flawless makeup. The sight of her tears used to make my heart clench. Now I feel nothing but exhaustion. I'm leaving, I say, heading for the door. Don't call me. Don't write. My lawyer will contact you. Where are you going? What do you care? I turn around in the doorway. You got what you wanted, didn't you? A year's almost gone. You can be open with him now. I walk out into the night without looking back. I get in the car, but I can't bring myself to start the engine. My hands shake so badly that the key won't go into the ignition. My phone vibrates, messages from Scarlett, one after another. I don't read them, just turn the phone off. Then I turn it back on and dial Landon's number. Can I sleep over? Sure, he answers instantly, like he's been waiting for this call. Come over. On the way to his place, I think about tomorrow's game. About going out on the court and playing like nothing happened. I'll smile at the fans, give interviews, pretend my life isn't falling apart. Landon's apartment smells like pizza and coffee. He doesn't ask questions, just sets a bottle of beer in front of me and turns on the TV. A basketball game, another team. Such a normal, ordinary picture. Two friends watching sports in the evening. You know, I say after a long silence, the worst part isn't that she cheated. The worst part is that it was all a lie from the beginning. Landon is silent, but I can see him clenching his fists. Something about his reaction seems odd, but I'm too exhausted to think about it. At night, I lie on the couch in Landon's living room and listen to the clock ticking. Tomorrow is an important game. The day after tomorrow is the next one. Life goes on, even when it feels like your world has stopped. There are 37 missed messages from Scarlett on the phone, and one message from an unknown number. Now you know the truth. But that's not all. Life in Landon's apartment is like a strange dream. I wake up on the couch, not realizing where I am for a few seconds. Then reality comes crashing down. Scarlett, the pictures, the letter, the betrayal. It's the same thing every morning. Landon leaves me a spare key and a note on the kitchen table. There's food in the fridge. Don't forget your workout at 2. His handwriting is sharp, angular, so unlike Scarlett's graceful curls. I open the refrigerator, and everything is organized into containers, each labeled with its contents and date. I never noticed Landon was so organized. Or had I just never paid attention to little things like this before? My phone is silent. I blocked Scarlett's number after 100 of her texts and calls. Kendall texts every morning, asking how I'm doing. What can I say? I'm fine, sis. Just found out the last year of my life was someone's evil joke. At practice, I'm like a zombie. The ball feels alien in my hands, my movements are imprecise, my reactions slow. Coach Ted shakes his head but doesn't scold me. He probably already knows everything. In the world of professional sports, rumors spread faster than a fire. Pull it together, Bright! Landon claps me on the shoulder after a particularly bad throw. The team is counting on you. The team. Right. We got the playoffs coming up. We can't get complacent. I'm trying to concentrate on the game, but I keep seeing those pictures. Is Scarlett smiling at Ashton the way she smiled at me? Saying the same words to him? After practice, Ted calls me into his office. I sit in the worn leather chair where I've sat hundreds of times before. On the wall are pictures of teams from different years. Here's ours from last year. Scarlett is standing next to me, her hand on my shoulder. How could I not see the falseness in her smile? Listen, son. Ted sits down across from me, his eyes full of sympathy. I know what you're going through, and I know how it can break a man. You don't know anything. The words come out harsher than I wanted them to. I know. He sighs. My first wife. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're at a crossroads right now. You can let it destroy you, or you can use it as fuel. Fuel? Anger, pain, frustration. It's all energy. Channel it into the game. That evening, Landon and I sit in his living room, watching replays of the opposing team's games. Or rather, he's watching, and I'm staring at the screen, unable to see anything in front of me. Why don't we go out to dinner? He suggests. You need to unwind. I shake my head. I don't want to go out. All the stares, the whispers behind my back. They'll still be there. You're a public figure, bro. He's right, of course. I saw headlines in the sports news this morning. Golden State star moved out of family home? Trouble in paradise? Brighton Holloway spotted without wedding ring. The phone vibrates. A message from an unfamiliar number. Check your wife's bank statements for the last 3 months, especially the transfers to the Swiss bank account. I start to shake. Landon notices it. Are those messages again? Yes. Whoever it is knows too much. Maybe we should check it out. Maybe there's something important in there. I look at my friend. Do you really think there could be something worse than I already know? He looks away. Just be prepared for anything. The next morning, I check our joint accounts after all. The numbers jump in front of my eyes, but some transactions stand out especially vividly. Large sums, regular transfers to an account I knew nothing about. The doorbell rings. It's Kendall with a box of donuts and a thermos of coffee. My little sister who always knows what I need. How are you? She asks, setting the cups on Landon's kitchen table. Like a man who found out the last year of his life was a play. I try to smile, but it comes out a grimace. I talk to a colleague of mine at the law firm. She pulls some papers out of her bag. He specializes in divorces. If you're ready to... I don't know if I'm ready, I admit honestly. It still feels like some kind of nightmare, that I'll wake up and she'll be there and everything will be just like it was before. But it's not a dream, Bright. Kendall takes my hand. And the longer you delay the inevitable... I know, I cut her off. Just give me some time. We have an important game tonight. I stand in front of the mirror in the locker room, scrutinizing my reflection. The circles under my eyes, the droopy face. I don't recognize myself. I pull on my uniform mechanically, like a robot. Ready? Landon appears beside me, already in uniform. No, but there's no choice, right? I walk out onto the court to the roar of the crowd. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice the empty VIP seat where Scarlett usually sat. Her absence is like an open wound. The game is going hard. I'm missing more shots than usual, losing the ball, missing rebounds. Coach Ted yells something from the bench, but his voice is drowned out by the noise in the stands. At halftime between quarters, I catch concerned looks from my teammates. Focus, Landon whispers as we wait for the final quarter to begin. Just pretend nothing happened. But I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see those pictures. I see her smile addressed to someone else. Hear words of love that were lies. We're losing. The score difference is small, but it's my fault. I missed some important moments. After the game, I avoid the journalists, take a quick shower, and leave through the emergency exit. In the car, I turn on the radio, trying to drown out my thoughts with music. But every love song is like a knife in my heart. I switch to the sports channel. They are already discussing my game today, making theories about the influence of personal problems on sports results. I turn the hell off and drive to the ocean. I parked on the deserted beach where Scarlett and I often walked in the evenings. I sit in the dark, listening to the sound of the waves. My phone vibrates again. Another message from an unfamiliar number. She planned this from the beginning. It was all part of the plan. I toss the phone onto the seat next to me. I want to scream, pound my fists on the steering wheel, do something, anything to dull this pain inside. But instead, I just sit and stare out at the dark ocean. I get home to Landon's house at midnight. He's still awake, waiting for me in the kitchen with a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. You want to talk? He asks. No, I reply. But I sit down next to him anyway. I want to get drunk and forget all this. That won't help. I know. But then what will? He's silent, twirling the glass in his hands. Then he says quietly, time. Just time. I fall asleep in the morning on the couch that has become my temporary bed. Half asleep, I hear Landon talking to someone on the phone in the next room. His voice sounds worried, but I can't make out the words. The morning begins with Scarlett calling. Usually I hang up, but today something compels me to answer. Maybe fatigue from a sleepless night. Maybe the longing that's been gnawing at my insides for the past week. Bright. Her voice shakes. Please, we need to talk. Really talk. I stay silent, listening to her breathing through the tube. How many times over the years have I heard that voice? How many times has it calmed me down before important games, laughed at my jokes, whispered words of love? I'll be at our cafe, the same one where you proposed to me, at 2 o'clock. Why, Scarlett? My voice sounded like a stranger. What else is there to say? Everything. I have to explain everything to you. The little coffee shop on the corner of 18th Street hasn't changed much. Same vintage posters on the walls, same smell of freshly ground coffee, same elderly waitress Martha who's known us since our first date. Scarlett is already there, sitting at our table by the window. She's wearing a simple gray dress, hair gathered, no makeup. She looks so vulnerable, so real, it takes my breath away. Hi, she says quietly as I sit down across from her. Martha brings us coffee without even asking for an order. Americano for me, vanilla latte for Scarlett. Same as always. I ruined it. Scarlett stares into her cup without looking up. I thought I could control the situation, that I could just play the part. But then what? My voice sounds muffled. Then I fell in love with you for real. She lifts her eyes full of tears. And that ruined everything. I stare at her, trying to figure out, is this another lie, or is it the truth this time? How do I know where the game ends and real feelings begin? Ashton, that was before you. We were dating, he promised to help with his career. Then I met you and everything changed. But he wouldn't let me go. Threatened to ruin my career, to tell you. And that's why you kept seeing him? Even after you got married? She shudders. I tried to break things off. I really tried. But he had pictures, dirt. He blackmailed me. I want to believe her. God, I want to believe her. But I can still see those pictures from the box. She didn't look scared or coerced in them. And the letter? The one that was in the box? He made me keep it. Like a guarantee. Her fingers nervously rubbed the napkin. Bright, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I love you. Really love you. The coffee shop plays the very song we danced to at the wedding. The cruel irony of fate. I don't know how to feel, Scarlett, I say honestly. I don't know how to tell the difference between truth and lies. Let me prove it. She reaches across the table but doesn't touch me. Give me a chance to make it right. We talk for hours. She cries, telling me how confused she was, how afraid she was of losing me, how she hated herself for every lie. I listen, and something inside me slowly thaws. In the evening we walk home, to our house that I left a few weeks ago. Everything looks so familiar and yet so foreign at the same time. There's a vase of wilted roses on the kitchen table, the ones I gave for our anniversary. I didn't throw them away, she says quietly. I couldn't have. The bedroom smells of her perfume. The bed is made, spotless as always. On the bedside table is a picture from our wedding. I take it in my hands, looking into our happy faces. It wasn't a complete lie. Scarlett stands in the doorway, wrapping her arms around herself. That joy, those smiles, they were real. I sit on the edge of the bed, feeling endlessly tired. How can we start over? After everything? Day by day. She sits down next to me, not touching me. I'll prove to you that I've changed, that our love is worth a second chance. At night, I can't sleep. Scarlett is breathing evenly next to me, just like before. Her hand rests on my pillow, a familiar gesture that makes my heart ache. I reach for my phone, 3 missed calls from Landon, a text from Kendall. Are you sure you know what you're doing? No, I'm not. But can you be sure when it comes to love? I wake up this morning to the smell of pancakes and coffee. Scarlett's in the kitchen wearing my old t-shirt, hair in a sloppy ponytail. So homely, so dear. Good morning, she smiles uncertainly. I remember you like it with blueberries. We eat breakfast in silence. Every gesture, every look is filled with new meaning. I catch myself looking for signs of falsity, signs of another lie. I hate myself for it. At practice, I play better than I have in weeks. Coach Ted nods approvingly after a particularly good throw. Landon watches me with a kind of strange expression on his face. Did you get back to her? He asks in the locker room. Trying to make things right, I reply without looking at him. Bright. He starts to say something but stops talking. Then he just claps me on the shoulder. Be careful. The days add up into weeks. Scarlett and I are relearning to trust each other. She shows me every text message from Ashton, tells me about every meeting, every phone call. I pretend it's enough. She comes to all my games, sits in her usual spot. The team goes to the conference finals. After a winning game, she runs onto the court, gives me a hug in front of everyone. The cameras catch that moment. Perfect reconciliation story for the press. Kendall doesn't approve. I can see it in the way she looks at me, the way she pushes her lips up when Scarlett is around. But my sister stays silent, respecting my choice. Just remember, she says one day when we're alone, some things can't be glued together, no matter how hard you try. I've almost convinced myself that things have gotten better, that we could start over, put the past behind us. Scarlett has canceled her contract with Ashton's agency, found new photographers. She's trying, really trying. The morning begins as usual. Scarlett makes breakfast, humming something to herself. I browse the news on my tablet, pretending that everything is normal, that I don't notice her furtively checking her phone, flinching at every notification. Big game tonight. She places a plate of omelets in front of me. First game of the final series. I nod without looking up. I've been living in a bit of a fog for the past 2 weeks. Things seem to be getting better, but something keeps scratching at me from the inside. Maybe it's paranoia. Maybe I've just learned to trust. The front door slams the morning mail delivery. Scarlett goes to pick it up and I stare after her. Even in her robe, she moves like a model. Years of habit. I used to admire that. Now I wonder how much of it is real and how much is rehearsed. Billing, advertising, and... She stops talking halfway through. There's an envelope in her hand. A thick, cream-colored envelope, just like those previous ones. Give it to me. I stand up, taking the envelope from her. She doesn't resist. Inside are printouts of bank transactions and a letter. My hands shake as I unfold the sheet. You gave her a second chance. That's noble. But do you know about the meeting at the Fairmont last week? About how your divorce was planned before you were even married? Check the attached documents, especially the dates and amounts. I'm looking at the printouts. Regular transfers to a Swiss bank account. The dates start a month before our wedding. It's not what you think. Scarlett takes a step toward me. Her voice trembles. What am I supposed to think? Each word is given with difficulty. Explain it to me. Explain why these transfers started before the wedding. Explain the meeting at the Fairmont. She is silent. Only her lips quiver, just like the day of the wedding. I realize now that those tears were fake too. I should have gotten myself insurance, she finally says. Insurance? Is that what you call it? You don't understand. I grew up with nothing, Bright. No money, no connections, no support. I couldn't risk being left with nothing. A bitter laugh bursts from my chest. And that's why you decided to marry me, live for a year, and take half the fortune in the divorce? Was that the plan all along? No. I mean, yes, it was a plan at first. But then I really fell in love with you. When? When you were transferring money into a secret account? Or when you met with Ashton to discuss the details of the divorce? She cries. Tears roll down her cheeks, smearing her mascara. It's a beautiful scene. She's always been able to cry beautifully. Stop it! My voice sounds tired. Just stop playing. Going up to the bedroom, I pull out my gym bag, folding things mechanically, not really sorting out what I'm taking. T-shirts, jeans, socks. What difference does it make? I can hear her sobbing downstairs. I call Landon. Can I stay at your place again? Sure, he answers instantly. I'm home. On the way out, I run into Scarlett. She's standing in the kitchen doorway with her arms wrapped around herself. Please, she whispers. Let's talk. I'll explain everything. There's nothing to explain. I button my jacket without looking at her. It's very clear. I love you. No, I shake my head. You love the idea of me. Successful athlete, good contract, promising career, a great match for an ambitious model. That's not true. What is true, Scarlett? Has anything in our lives ever been true? She's silent. I walk out, closing the door carefully. No dramatic slam, just the quiet click of the lock. The end. In the car, I turn the radio up to full volume, trying to drown out my thoughts. I drive past the coffee shop where we talked 2 weeks ago. Past the park where we used to walk on weekends. Past the restaurant where we celebrated our anniversary. Every place is soaked with memories, and every memory is now poisoned. Landon is waiting for me with the door open and a bottle of whiskey. I thought things were getting better, I say, dropping onto the couch. Thought we could start over. Some things can't be fixed. He sits down next to me, holding out the glass. I still love her, even now knowing all this. He's silent, but I can see the jowls on his face tense. My phone vibrates. Messages from Scarlett. Dozens of messages. I mute it, but the screen keeps lighting up. Her words, her excuses, her pleas. Kendall arrives an hour later, sits on my other side, rests her head on my shoulder, just like when I was a kid, when I used to get upset about losing games. I should have listened to you, I tell her. You should have gone through it yourself, she squeezes my hand. Otherwise, you'd always be thinking, what if? We have a game in the evening. I sit in the locker room looking at my uniform. Number 23 is my lucky number. I wonder if there was any truth to how excited she was about every win I had. How excited she was before important matches. 10 minutes to go. Coach Ted peeks into the locker room. He gives me a long look. Are you okay? No, I answer honestly. But I'll be fine. Use this. He taps a finger on my chest. All that pain, all that anger, channel it into the game. I walk out onto the court to the roar of the stands. I look for the VIP seats. She's there, in the red dress I gave her for her birthday. Our eyes meet for a moment. The referee blows his whistle. The game begins. The ball is in my hands, and suddenly everything becomes simple and clear. Here on the court, there's no room for lies. It's just you, the ball in the ring. I'm playing in a fog. Every shot, every pass is filled with more than just athletic anger. Landon's got my back, like always. We understand each other without words. At halftime, I check my phone. Another message from an unfamiliar number. There's one last thing you need to know. Come to the Blue Note Cafe tomorrow at 10 in the morning. It'll be over. I stare at the message for a long time, trying to figure out, is there anything else I want to know? Could there be anything worse than what I already know? I return to the court. The game goes on. Life goes on. The Blue Note Cafe is a small establishment in the old part of town. I've never been here, and Scarlett never mentioned the place. At 9:50 in the morning, I push open the heavy wooden door. Inside, I smell fresh pastries and coffee, and jazz is playing softly. I choose a table in the corner and order an Americano. My hands shake as I bring the cup to my lips. I was up all night, tossing and turning on Landon's couch, replaying the events of the last few months in my head. Every detail, every look, every word is now seen in a different light. The bell above the door rang at 10 sharp. I look up and freeze as Landon enters the cafe. My best friend, my teammate. The writer of those letters? Hey, Bright. He sits down across from me, his face serious, unfamiliar. I think it's time we had a talk. It was you? All this time? You've been writing those letters? He nods without averting his gaze. I had to do something. You didn't listen when I tried to warn you directly. Memories come in a wave. All those moments when Landon tried to talk about Scarlett. His wary looks, the unspoken phrases, the strange behavior at my wedding. Why? Is the only thing I can ask. Remember that night, 2 months before your wedding? We were sitting at the bar, and you were telling me how happy you were, how you couldn't wait to get married. He pauses, drumming his fingers on the table. That same night, I saw Scarlett at another bar with Ashton. They didn't notice me, but I heard them talking. The waitress brings him coffee. He thanks, but doesn't touch the cup. They were talking about the plan, about how perfect everything was coming together. She was laughing, Bright, laughing at how easily you believe every word she said. Something clenches inside. Thinking back to that period, I really was a blur of happiness, believing every word she said, every smile. I tried to give you a hint. Do you remember asking if you thought it was strange that she was in such a hurry to get married? That she's insisting on a prenup? You could have just told me straight. I could have, he sighs. But you were so in love, you wouldn't have believed it. Would have thought I was jealous of your happiness or something. He's right. I wouldn't have believed it. Even now, knowing the whole truth, part of me wants to find an excuse for her actions. It only got worse after the wedding, Landon continues. I saw them together several times, in restaurants, at the Fairmont Hotel, gathered evidence, followed bank transfers. How? I have a friend at the bank. When I told him about the situation, he helped me track the flow of funds. Scarlett was careful, but not careful enough to hide everything. I think back to all those evenings when she said she was late for photo shoots, all those business meetings and dinners with girlfriends. The final straw was that meeting at the Fairmont 2 weeks ago. Landon pulls out his phone, showing me the photos. It was the day after you two reconciled. She was meeting with a lawyer discussing the details of the divorce. The photos show Scarlett sitting with some man in an expensive suit. They're going over documents, and she's smiling, the same smile I thought was meant only for me. Why the anonymous letters? Why didn't you come to me at once with proof? Because you had to see for yourself, gradually. If I just dumped it all out at once, you'd have shut down, started defending her. I know you, brother. There was logic in his words, excruciating, painful logic. Did Kendall know? No. But she always sensed something was wrong. There's a reason she's a lawyer. She has great intuition. I sit staring into my cooled coffee. There's a strange emptiness inside. No anger or pain left. Just fatigue. You know what the weirdest thing is? I finally say. I still remember how happy we were, or thought we were happy. This will pass. Landon reaches across the table, squeezing my shoulder lightly. In time. Why did you do all this? Risked our friendship, wasted time tracking. Because you're my friend. My best friend. And I couldn't watch her ruin your life. There's such sincerity in his eyes, it brings a lump to my throat. I think back to every moment of our friendship, from our first practice together to today. He was always there for me, always supportive. I have one more thing. Landon pulls out a thick folder. All the evidence, bank statements, photos, phone records, enough to make sure she doesn't get a dime in the divorce. You're thinking about divorce when we have a finale episode coming up? I try to make a joke, but it comes out bitter. I'm thinking about protecting you. And yes, we're going to win this series. Spite everyone. We walk out of the cafe together. The morning sun floods the street, people hurrying about their business. It's a normal San Francisco day. Thank you, I say, looking down at the city from the hill. For not leaving me in the dark, for risking our friendship for the truth. That's what friends are for, he smiles. By the way, I cleared out the guest room. No more sleeping on the couch. In the car, I turn on the radio. They're broadcasting the forecast for tonight's match. The analysts are discussing my form, the impact of personal problems on the game. If only they knew. My phone vibrates. A message from Scarlett. Please, let's talk. I can explain everything. I delete it without reading further. For the first time in a long time, this action doesn't hurt. At practice, Ted announces the lineup for tonight's game. He looks at Landon and me. You two are my backup point guards. No matter what's going on in your lives, on the court you're a unit. In the locker room, Landon holds out a bottle of water to me. Ready to play? I am now, I reply, and it's true. The evening before the game, I pull out my phone and dial a text to Kendall. Get a good lawyer, it's time to end this play. Her reply comes instantly. Already found one. Proud of you, big bro. I sit down on the bench, looking at my sneakers. How many important matches have I played in them? How many wins and losses? It's just another game, another battle. Only now I know exactly who's on my side. The underground corridor of the arena hums with tension. 15 minutes to go until the deciding game of the final series. I sit on a bench in the empty technical room, my personal sanctuary before important games. It smells of rubber, metal, and for some reason cinnamon, the odor coming from the dining room one floor above. I'm holding my phone. The last text from Scarlett came an hour ago. I'll be at the game, one last time, goodbye. Strangely, those words don't evoke the sharp pain they used to, only a deafening longing for what might have been if it had been real. There's a folder of documents from Landon next to me. I went through them last night, every photo, every statement, every detail of her betrayal. It was like opening an old wound, painful but necessary for ultimate healing. Massaging my knees, an old habit before a game. I remember Scarlett massaging me after tough matches. Her cool fingers, the smell of lavender oil, the quiet voice telling me about the day gone by. Was it all a lie? Or did she forget her plan at times like this too? Hey, are you here? Kendall peeks into the room. She's holding a glass of green smoothie, my pre-match ritual that only those closest to me know about. Thanks. I take the glass, take a sip. The flavor is perfect. Spinach, apple, ginger. You memorized the proportions. Of course I remembered. I'm your sister. She sits down next to me, adjusting the collar of my workout jacket. How are you? Fine. I try to smile, but it comes out crooked. It's weird. The last few months have been like a bad dream. You know what Dad always said? Nothing in life is random. Every pain makes us stronger. Dad was quite the philosopher. I chuckle, remembering our father, a high school gym teacher who dreamed of his son playing in the NBA. He'd be proud of you, not just because of basketball, because of the way you're handling all of this. Footsteps are heard in the hallway. It's Landon. He's already in uniform, ready to play. 10 minutes, he says, leaning against the door jamb. Ted's getting the team together. I nod, finishing my smoothie. The flavor of ginger lingers on my tongue, tangy, invigorating. Have you seen her? I ask, not knowing why. She's in the VIP box, with her lawyer, of course. Even now, she's wasting no time. I wonder how she feels. Does she regret anything, or just annoyed that the plan went wrong? You know what's funny? I say, getting up from the bench. I remember every detail of our first meeting. The way she was taking pictures on the boardwalk, the way the wind played with her hair. I remember what she was wearing. A white summer dress and blue ballet flats. I remember her laughter as I clumsily tried to strike up a conversation. Bright. Kendall starts to say something, but I shake my head. No, listen. I remember it all so clearly, like it was yesterday. I see things now that I didn't notice then. How she looked at my watch before smiling. How she cleverly figured out what team I played for. How carelessly she mentioned that she'd always dreamed of having an athlete husband. She's a professional actress. Landon's voice sounds muffled. In every way. I pull a new pair of sneakers out of my bag, a gift from the sponsors for the final series. White and gold, like the team uniforms. Scarlett's never seen them before. It's oddly satisfying. Something that belongs only to me. Remember what Dad used to say before the big games? Kendall helps me lace up my sneakers, just like when I was a kid. Play like it's the last game of your life, I quote from memory. But remember, a new sun will rise tomorrow. Exactly, she kisses my cheek. Go, show them all. The locker room is noisy. The team is preparing for the game. Some are listening to music on headphones. Some are repeating tactical schemes. Some are just sitting with their eyes closed, concentrating. Coach Ted gathers everyone into a circle. His speech is short, but gets straight to the heart. Each of you has traveled a different path to get here. Everyone has their own story, their own scars, their own wins and losses. But today, we are one team, one family. Family. I look at Landon, at Kendall sitting at the front door. This is my real family, the people who have been there for me in my darkest moments. 2 minutes, yells the assistant coach. I put on my uniform, adjusting my wristbands. The mirror reflects a familiar face with an unfamiliar expression. Tougher, more mature. A man who has been through betrayal and survived. The team lines up at the exit to the court. The roar of the crowd is heard, the music, the announcer's announcements. Familiar sounds that have always made your heart beat faster. The last seconds before the exit. I close my eyes, take a deep breath. I think of all the events of the last few months, the letters, the revelations, The pain, the anger, the despair. It's all led me here, to this moment. Somewhere out there, in a VIP box, sits the woman I loved, who betrayed me, played with my feelings, planned my ruin. But it doesn't matter anymore. Out! Ted commands. I take a step forward, toward the spotlight, toward the roar of the crowd, toward a new beginning. Whatever happens next, I know one thing. This is my game, and I'll play it by my own rules.